Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album War. Today, we are looking at two giants of the jazz fusion scene in the 70s, two landmark albums. One from 1973, the other from 1976. Hard to believe they were released 3 years apart. Kind of crazy, because both of these bands were contemporaries, but one was kind of the tail end of one band's era, close to the tail end. The other was the kind of start of a new lineup shift, right? So technically, both of these releases mark the last releases with each of the classic members of each band, or the classic lineup of each band. So we're going to look at, from 1973, the sophomore album from Mahavishnu Orchestra, Birds of Fire, and the other is going to be the last of the classic releases, classic albums from the classic lineup of Return to Forever, the electric band, right? Which, ironically enough, Chick Corea called his later fusion act in the 80s, but the electrified version of Return to Forever, okay, Romantic Warrior. All right, so let's get started here. All right, so the battle begins. So let's start off with the kind of earlier one. So we're going to go to Birds of Fire, Mahavishnu Orchestra, okay? This follows their stunning debut, Intermounting Flame. The reason why I kind of picked these two today, because like I said, kind of an end of an era for both bands, okay? End of the classic lineup phase. So here you've got the last studio album featuring John McLaughlin on guitar, Rick Laird on bass, Jerry Goodman on violin, Jan Hammer on keyboards, and of course Billy Cobham on drums. So a fiery, fast and furious, atmospheric, ethnic, world music, crazy rock and roll, funk and fusion and jazz, all kind of thrown, a little bit of folk, maybe just a little bit of classical. All these elements thrown into the music of Mahavishnu Orchestra works so well in the stunning sophomore release. You know, you've got the commanding title track, a great slow builder of a cut, you know, with some kick-ass McLaughlin, rapid fire machine gun guitar work, and Billy Cobham, man. What a great drummer that dude is, okay? It's just amazing when you listen to some of this early Mahavishnu stuff, and even more stunning when you go on YouTube and you go look at some of the old live footage from this era of the band. Crazy. But, you know, if you haven't checked out a lot of Billy Cobham's solo albums that he released throughout the 80s and throughout the 70s and the early 80s, you really should check them out. Some really, really good stuff. Really good stuff. What else we got here? Miles Beyond, the tribute to Miles Davis. Very cool tune. Because again, you know, a bunch of these dudes actually play with Miles. Miles Davis's band in the early 60s, in the late 60s, early 70s was like a breeding ground for all the jazz fusion cats. I mean, they most of them kind of came through Miles' band at one time or other. You either did some recordings with him, played live with him, you know, did sessions. Crazy. Celestial Terrestrial Commuters, another kind of fun, funky, weird-ass tune. Sapphire Bullets of Pure Love, quick little snippet there. Thousand Island Park, very cool tune. Hope, One Word, that's a really long, almost 10-minute tune. Very, very cool stuff. Again, brings all the elements of what Mahavishnu did so well. You know, Jan Hammer's keyboards and the great guitar from McLaughlin, and Hammer's, Jerry Goodman's Flights of Fancy on violin. Fantastic stuff. Of course, then Sanctuary, classic track from the band. Open Country Joy, kind of more of like a slightly folkier tune, all right? And then ending it off with Resolution. So here you got a mix of like kind of shorter tracks and longer tracks. You know, for some, they may find the debut, Intermounting Flame, a little more cohesive. I like them both. There have been times where I like the debut better. There are times where I like this album better. But both albums are fantastic from a just absolutely lethal band. And, you know, of course, you got to then listen to, you know, once you listen to these two, you got to totally dive into the live album from Central Park, Between Nothingness and Eternity, which is fantastic as well. Okay? And you have to count that as kind of like the last album from the band, even though it's a live album. It is a live album. So I went for just a pure studio release right here, but great album. Next, okay, 1976, This is, oh, let's see, from the Return to Forever band when they went electric. How many releases? This is, I believe, the fourth one, right? Although they have there's other Return to Forever albums, but they're more of kind of like a little bit different without the guitar. It's almost like there's the Return to Forever without the guitar and Return to Forever with the guitar. So you've got a couple of albums that kind of bookend the whole Return to Forever period that are guitar-less, and then you got, the first album with him, The Seventh Galaxy, with Billy Connors, and then Al Di Meola comes in, 19 years old, and they do 3 albums without. And this was the final one. So this was like the last album for the totally electrified era of Return to Forever. Like I said, they, of course, would use electric instruments after this, but without guitar. So it's like guitarless period, I should say. This is the last guitar album of Return to Forever. So another fantastic album. I think sonically superior to the Mahavishnu album, in my opinion. Just one of the best sounding and recorded albums of all time, and I think the compositions here are fantastic. You got most of the band taking part in the writing of the material, okay? And it's just, you got all these kind of flavors, and it's just, everything just seemed to work really well. Now, ironically, this is not my favorite RTF album, okay? I really love Where Have I Known You Before a lot. And I love him in The Seventh Galaxy. I love No Mystery. I love all of them, almost equally. I kind of lean towards Where Have I Known You Before a little bit, but this was my favorite for many, many years. Okay, so why do I like this so much? So, of course, you got the Medieval Overture, fantastic. And I love the kind of the little bits of Latin flavors that are in this music. You got a little world flavors. Got a lot of funk going on in this music, right? Of course, you got a little bit of rock, right? A little bit of everything, some kind of classical strains here and there. Sorceress is just absolutely brilliant. All right, The Romantic Warrior, the title track, fantastic piece of music. Majestic Dance is cool. The Magician, fantastic. Duel of the Jester and the Tyrant, 11 minutes of glory, absolutely amazing. And it's just the interplay between Korea's, electric Fender Rhodes electric piano and the vast array of different synths he uses, and Stanley Clark's, electric bass, acoustic bass, Di Meola's searing guitar work, a little bit of flamenco stuff going on here, and Lenny White's dazzling drums. You talk about some of the great drummers of the 70s, and you got, man, there were some guys from these fusion bands that were just out of sight. Cobham, Lenny White, okay? Tony Williams. I mean, you got some guys here that are just like such amazing players. Amazing players. So, 2 fantastic albums, right? This, I almost came into this show today ready to declare a draw. I really did, because I absolutely love both of these bands. These are my 2 favorite fusion bands of all time. And these are 2 incredible, incredible albums. And I love all the albums by both these bands. And love both guitar players to death. Love both drummers. I'm a huge Chick Corea fan. Jan Hammer, you gotta love. I mean, it's just, Stanley Clark, one of my favorite bass players of all time. So what do you do? What do you do? You have to really kind of look at each track and listen to both side by side. It's like, which one do I get more enjoyment out of now? Which one historically have I gotten more enjoyment out of? And I've been listening to both of these for 30 years. And when it comes right down to it, this is the album that does it just a little bit more for me. And I'll tell you why. The playing on both is equal, right? It's different. Both these albums are different. There's a lot of savage stuff on here, but there's also a lot of beauty on here as well. This one, for me, though, the compositions are so well constructed. There's not a minute or a second of filler on this album. I'm not saying this has, okay? But this is just everything on this album. From the first note to the last makes perfect sense. You've got the entire band contributing to the music, to the arrangements, and it all works. Every song on here is absolutely memorable, and you can't always say that about instrumental music, right? How often? I remember the first time I heard this album, way back when in the 80s, and I was just like, wow, it's like right after you hear every song, you're still thinking of that melody line, right? You're still thinking of that guitar solo, or that that bass run, or that little flight of fancy from Korea. It's like just everything on here is just makes perfect sense, sticks in your brain, and never leaves. Okay? Whereas this album, again, there's a lot of that on here too, but this album is the one that you listen to and you're like, whoa, explosive. Wow, listen to that passionate playing. Wow, that's a savage guitar part, right? You know, and you're just, this is the album that you're kind of like, you know, immediately you just like bashed over the head and blown away, right? But this is the one that just kind of, the music haunts you, stays with you. Okay, so that's why I'm going to give this one. This is as close to a draw as humanly possible, right? But I'm going to give this one to Romantic Warrior by Return to Forever by the slimmest of margins. Okay, this is definitely a 115, 114 majority decision. Okay, it's as close as you get. It's got to have an immediate rematch, right? I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to have an immediate rematch, and it's going to be another classic RTF versus another classic Mahavishnu album. Going to have to do it. I'm going to kind of wait and see how the votes look on the Facebook page before I do that. But if it's just this, and last I looked, it was pretty damn close. In fact, it's been a seesaw battle. RTF was kind of in the lead earlier this morning, and then Mahavishnu shot up, and I think last I checked, they were up. So it's like neck and neck. So guys, if you haven't already voted, go to our Facebook page, seek us out on Facebook, and vote. Like us first, and then vote. And I'm really curious to see who wins this one, because, you know, we could have him of the Seventh Galaxy versus Intermounting Flame tomorrow. All right, this, you know, a lot of the great albums. I mean, just so many great albums from these bands. So it's be interesting to see what happens. So anyway, that's my pick. Romantic Warrior, majority decision, 115, 114. They are the winners, but. You know, again, if you would ask me a couple months ago or ask me next week, I might say something different. That's where I'm going today. But I think I'm pretty confident in my pick, because this is just the one that, you know, just kind of sticks with me just ever so much more, right? But it's by a hair. It's by the slimmest of margins, people. So anyway, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube often. Lots more classic album wars coming up. All right, a little bit of an update. Okay, coming up, programming coming up. We've got hopefully another questions and answers this weekend. Should be able to squeeze another top 10 songs in over the next couple days. Mike Antonelli and I are talking about doing a Pink Floyd top 10 songs. All right, he couldn't make our Doobie Brothers one, but he's definitely in for the Pink Floyd. So that's coming up real soon too. I just got to coordinate my schedule with Mike. But most importantly, coming up this coming Tuesday night, I will be guesting once again on Jeff Young's Music Without Boundaries radio show in person. I will be live. Jeff has relocated to the New York City area, okay? And I will be going over to his studio. I will be there live in person, 7:11 Eastern Standard Time, 4:11 Pacific Time. Now that Jeff's on the East Coast, swap the time zone around, right? So for all you earlier birds, okay, here on the East Coast, you can now tune in while you're having dinner or finishing up dinner. JeffYoungJams.com, all right, 7:11 Eastern Standard Time, this Tuesday night. The theme is a cool one, all right, we're still kind of working on it, but might be a little creepy, all right, so check that out. In addition, Jeff is guesting on my show next week as well, live in person, all right. Jeff Young, former guitar shredder from Megadeth and solo artist, will be on the Sea of Tranquility show. He will be on the Top 10 Songs show. We are going to take a look at our 10 favorite tracks from none other than 10cc. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.